There is someone who looked at you and realized they were not good enough, not in a self pity way, not in a woe is me way, in a factual, honest, staring at themselves in the mirror way. They looked at who you are, the way you carry yourself, the way you refuse to settle, the way you walk away from things most people would tolerate just because they're afraid of being alone. And they understood with complete clarity that the version of themselves that existed at that moment would never be able to hold your attention long term. And instead of resenting you for it, instead of calling you difficult or picky or too much, instead of doing what most people do, which is dragging you down to their level so they don't have to rise, they did something that almost nobody does anymore. They went home and started changing quietly without announcement, without asking for credit. They started becoming a better person because you made them realize they needed to be one, not because you lectured them, not because you gave them an ultimatum, not because you sat them down and listed their flaws, because your standards asked for you without you ever opening your mouth. Your life itself is the sermon, the way you treat yourself, the way you hold your boundaries, the way you say no without flinching and yes without performing. All of it preaches without making a sound. And this person heard the sermon, and for the first time in their life, they didn't walk out of church early. They sat in the pew and listened to every word. That is what's coming through today. Okay, so I literally had to stop what I was doing to record this because the energy on this one is not playing around. I'm Stella, love tarot with Stella. Subscribe if you're new because we stay busy around here. Real quick, only take what resonates, leave what doesn't. You know how we do. Now, let me get into this because, oh my gosh, I have been waiting to tell somebody this all day. And before I dive in, if you're on a twin flame path and you refuse to lower your standards, even in that connection, there's something I need you to see. It's a method called Hiros Gamos that uses ancient energy work to raise your vibration so high that your twin flame has no choice but to rise to meet you. No chasing, no begging, no years of painful separation. Union in months. Link is in the pinned comment. It matches your energy perfectly. Let me tell you who you are, because somebody needs to say this out loud, and I don't think anyone ever has. You are the person who would rather be alone than be with someone who makes you feel alone. Read that again. That's it. That's your whole operating system in one sentence. You do not stay in situations that drain you just because the alternative is an empty apartment. You do not text back people who only text you when they're bored. You do not rearrange your dignity to fit inside someone else's bare minimum. And that is not because you think you're better than anyone. It's because you've already lived the alternative. You have already stayed when you should have left. You have already accepted the crumbs. You have already been the person who said thank you when someone handed them less than they deserved, because at least it was something. And you decided at some specific point, during some specific night, after some specific final straw that probably looked insignificant to anyone watching, that you were done. Not angry done, quiet done, the kind of done that doesn't slam doors. It just stops opening them. And since that decision, your life has gotten smaller in ways that look like loss to other people. Fewer texts, fewer invitations, fewer relationships, fewer people in your orbit period. Friends you thought were permanent revealed themselves as conditional. People you thought respected you revealed they only tolerated you when you were easy to manage. And each departure stung. Each one left a mark. Each one whispered, maybe you're the problem, maybe your standards are the issue, maybe if you were just a little more flexible, a little more forgiving, a little less you, then people would stay. And you heard that whisper. You heard it clearly, and you chose to ignore it because flexibility that requires you to bend until you break is not flexibility, it's submission, and you are done submitting. And from the outside, it might look lonely. It might look like you're pushing people away or being too rigid or having standards that are unrealistically high. But from the inside, from where you're standing, it feels like the first real peace you've had in years. because every person who is currently in your life chose to meet you where you are. They didn't get a discount. They didn't get the old version of you who accepted whatever was offered and called it enough. They got the version with the standards, the version who means it when she says no, the version who can sit in silence on a Friday night and feel more accompanied by her own company than she ever felt surrounded by people who didn't actually see her. And here's the thing about your standards that most people misunderstand. Your standards are not a checklist. They are not a list of requirements taped to the fridge. Tall makes six figures. Drives this, wears that. That's not what this is. Your standards are energetic, they're vibrational. You can feel when someone is operating below your frequency and you simply cannot pretend you don't feel it. Within minutes of meeting someone, whether they've done the work on themselves or whether they're selling a version of growth they haven't actually earned, you can smell inauthenticity the way other people smell cologne instantly, involuntarily, and with total accuracy. And when you detect it, you don't argue. You don't try to convince yourself you're being too harsh. You just quietly withdraw your energy. You don't fight for access to people who haven't fought for access to themselves. That is your standard, not a number on a checklist, not a requirement sheet, a frequency, a vibe check that happens in the first 30 seconds and cannot be fake pass. And here's the part that really gets people as you're not harsh about it, you don't announce it, you don't lecture, you don't explain why someone failed the vibe check. You just gently, almost imperceptibly stop investing. Your replies get shorter, your energy pulls back like a tide. You become pleasant but unreachable, friendly but unavailable. And the person on the receiving end can feel it happening, but they can't name what changed because nothing visible changed. You didn't fight, you didn't leave, you just stopped arriving. And that quiet withdrawal is more devastating than any argument because it tells the other person everything you weighed them and they came up light and you didn't even think it was worth discussing. That terrifies people. The ones it should terrify. If the initials B, E, or T mean something to you right now, those letters keep firing through. Connected to this person or to the specific moment they realized your standard was higher than anything they'd encountered before, drop it in the comments if it lands. Now let me tell you about this person because they are something else. This is not someone who saw your standards and felt attacked. This is not someone who got defensive or called you high maintenance or tried to convince you that you're asking for too much. This is someone who saw your standards and felt challenged, not threatened, challenged. The way an athlete feels challenged by a record they haven't broken yet. They looked at you and thought, I am not there yet, but I could be, and I want to be. And for the first time in my life, I have a reason to try that actually means something to me. And then they started doing the work. And oh my gosh, let me tell you about the work because the specifics are coming through and they're almost hard to believe. This person started examining themselves with an honesty they have never applied before. They started looking at their habits, their patterns, the way they communicate or don't communicate, the shortcuts they take in relationships, the emotional laziness they've gotten away with because nobody before you ever demanded more. They started noticing things about themselves that they'd been ignoring for years, the way they half listen when someone is talking, the way they avoid difficult conversations, the way they deflect with humor when something gets real, the way they show up just enough to keep people around but never enough to actually be present. All of these patterns that had been invisible to them suddenly became visible because you made them visible, not by pointing them out, by existing at a level where those patterns would disqualify them. You didn't say you need to be better, you just were better. And the gap between who they were and who you are became impossible to ignore. I keep getting the number one here, new beginnings, individuality, the self. And one is telling me this person is in the middle of becoming someone they have never been before. This is not a minor adjustment. This is not swapping one bad habit for one good one. This is a foundational reconstruction. They are dismantling parts of themselves that they've operated on for years, decades maybe, and rebuilding from the ground up. And the blueprint they're building from, whether they'd admit this or not, is you. Your standards are the architecture. Your energy is the building code. You didn't hand them a manual. You are the manual. And they're reading you every single day, trying to figure out what version of themselves would be worthy of standing next to you without feeling like a fraud. And here's the part that should stop you in your tracks. They're not doing this to impress you. They're not doing this to win you. They're not doing this as a performance designed to get your attention and then revert back to who they were once they have it. I keep getting that very clearly. This is not a strategy. This is not a play. This person is genuinely changing because meeting you showed them who they could be and now they can't unsee it. You activated something in them that cannot be deactivated. The awareness you created is permanent. Even if you disappeared from their life tomorrow, even if they never got the chance to show you the new version, they would still keep building it because the standard isn't about earning you anymore. The standard has become internal. They've adopted it as their own. You seeded something in them that took root and it's growing whether you water it or not. That is the level of impact your energy has. You changed someone's entire trajectory just by being yourself and having the audacity to not accept less than you deserve. And the jealousy. We need to talk about this because it's coming through in a way I haven't seen before. This person is not jealous of other people in your life. They're jealous of who they used to be. They're jealous of the old version of themselves that didn't know any better and was comfortable in mediocrity. Because that version was easy. That version didn't require work. That version could coast through relationships giving 60% and getting applauded for it because 60% was more than most people offered. And now they can't go back to 60% because you showed them what 100 looks like and anything less feels like lying. They are jealous of their own ignorance. They miss not knowing how high the bar could be set because not knowing was comfortable and knowing is exhausting and exhilarating and they wouldn't trade it for anything. And there's another layer to this jealousy that I need to name because it's pushing through. They're jealous of future you, the you that will eventually receive the version of them they're building. Because the current them, the in progress, under construction, not yet finished them doesn't get you. The current them knows they're not ready. And sitting in that gap between who they are and who they need to be in order to deserve your time is the most productive discomfort they've ever experienced. Most people avoid discomfort. This person is living in it on purpose because you're on the other side of it. For my Leo, Virgo, Aries, and Capricorn viewers, this is resonating in your bones right now. And I keep picking up Gemini or Libra energy on this person. Air sign energy, someone who lives in their head, someone who is used to thinking their way out of everything. And for the first time they've encountered something they can't think their way through. They have to feel their way through. And feeling is not their first language. They're learning it because of you. Now, drop everything. If this is landing right now, if you know exactly who this is, comment, my standards did that below. Like this video, subscribe if you're not already, and tell me who just came to mind because I read every single comment. I keep getting the number 6, harmony, love, home. And 6 is telling me that what this person is building toward is not a conquest. It's a home, not a house, a home, an emotional home. They want to become the kind of person you feel safe enough to rest inside of. The kind of person whose presence is a room you can exhale in. They have watched you be strong for so long, watched you hold yourself up, watched you need no one, watched you operate as your own entire infrastructure, and they don't want to replace that infrastructure. They don't want to make you need them. They want to become good enough that when you do choose to lean on that rare occasion, when you decide to let someone else hold something for you, they are sturdy enough to hold it without dropping it, without flinching, without making you regret trusting them with weight. They are building themselves into a resting place. For you specifically, and they know they're not there yet. And they're not stopping until they are. I keep getting this image of someone at the end of the day, late at night, everyone else asleep, the world quiet, and they're sitting with themselves, going over the day, reviewing their interactions. Did I show up with intention today? Did I say what I actually meant? Did I take the easy road or the right road? Was I honest when dishonesty would have been more convenient? These are the conversations they're having with themselves now, nightly, like a personal audit. And they didn't used to do this. Before you, they ran on autopilot. They went through life doing whatever felt good in the moment and never checking whether good in the moment was the same as good for real. You ended their autopilot. You put them in manual. And manual is harder and slower and more exhausting, and they wouldn't go back to autopilot for anything because autopilot would mean losing the chance to eventually stand next to you and know they earned the right to be there. And physically, because this is coming through and it's heavy, this person finds your confidence the most attractive thing they have ever encountered in another human being. Not arrogance, not bravado, the quiet certainty that you will be fine alone. The way you hold yourself like someone who doesn't need the room's approval to feel valid. The way you make eye contact like you have nothing to hide and nothing to prove. The way you walk like every step is intentional, like you're not wandering through life but moving through it with a direction that most people fake and you actually have. That physical certainty, that groundedness in your own body, it does something to them that no amount of conventional attractiveness has ever done. They have been around beautiful people who needed validation to feel beautiful, and it did nothing. You are beautiful and you don't need anyone to confirm it, and that self-sufficiency is so rare, it short-circuits their brain every time they witness it. They have imagined touching you, not grabbing, not taking, touching. With the kind of reverence you bring to something you're afraid of breaking, even though you know it's unbreakable. Their hands on your face, your jaw, the back of your neck, slowly, like they're memorizing topography. Like your body is a country they've been granted a visa to, and they intend to learn every border. They've thought about what it would feel like to hold your hand. Not grab it, hold it. To feel your fingers decide to close around theirs. That decision, that voluntary closing, that choice to grip back, they think about that more than anything, explicitly physical, because that grip is consent and trust and permission all at once, and they know that earning it from you would mean more than anything they've ever been given by someone who gave it easily. Easy has no value to them anymore. You taught them that. The things worth having are the things that require becoming someone worthy of having them. And they are becoming, every single day they are becoming. I keep getting the number 22, Master Builder, and the number 9 right behind it, Cycle Closing. Together, they tell me two things simultaneously. Something massive is being built. This person's evolution is not small, it is seismic, and something old is completing. A cycle of you being undervalued is ending. A season of you watching people choose easier options instead of rising to meet you is finishing. You have spent years watching people opt out of your life because your standards asked more of them than they were willing to give. And every single one of those departures, every person who left, every person who chose someone less demanding felt like rejection, like proof that you were too much. Like maybe the world was right and you should soften your standards just enough to keep someone around, but you didn't. You held, even when holding was lonely, even when the silence after someone left felt like punishment for wanting what you deserve. You held. And that holding, that stubborn, magnificent, lonely, powerful refusal to lower the bar that is about to pay off in a way that makes every departure feel like divine redirection. I keep getting the initials M and U connected to this next chapter, and the number 7, divine protection. You are being spiritually guarded right now. The reason this person is being allowed into your orbit is because they passed a test that was administered by something larger than both of you. They were vetted, not by you, by whatever force is protecting your peace. And they made the cut, not because they were perfect, because they were willing to grow, willing to be uncomfortable, willing to look at themselves honestly for the first time and say, I need to be more if I want to be near this person. And that willingness, that humility in the face of your excellence, that is the rarest response your standards have ever generated. And here's what happens next. This person is going to show you something, not tell you, show you. They're going to demonstrate a change you didn't ask for. You're going to notice because you notice everything that something about them is different, sharper, cleaner, more intentional. The way they speak to you will have a new precision. The way they show up will have a new consistency. And you're going to feel something you almost never feel, which is surprise, because you are used to people declining, used to people opting out, used to people revealing that their interest was conditional on you being easier to be with. And this person is going to reveal the opposite, that your difficulty was the point, that your standards were the invitation, that the bar you set wasn't a wall to keep people out, it was a filter to let the right one in. And they intend to be the right one. And here's what I want to leave you with. Your standards are not the reason you're alone on certain nights. Your standards are the reason the right person is currently rebuilding themselves from the foundation up just to be worthy of those nights. You did not ask too much. You asked exactly enough. And somebody heard you, and they are answering not with words, with changed behavior, with self-examination. With the hardest kind of work there is the kind that nobody sees and nobody applauds and nobody rewards until the day you look at this person and realize they are not who they used to be, and the reason they're not is you. You didn't lower the bar, and because you didn't, someone decided to jump higher. That is your power. That has always been your power. And you are about to see it confirmed in a way that changes how you walk through every room for the rest of your life. Okay, I need you to go receive this now. Stop apologizing for your standards. Stop wondering if they're too high. They're not too high. They're the exact height that filters out everyone who isn't willing to grow and lets through the one person who is. If this hit like this video right now, share it with someone who has been called too picky for knowing what they deserve. Subscribe because I am always in here dropping something for you, and comment below because I read every single one. Tell me who started changing. Tell me who you didn't lower the bar for. I want to know. Okay, go. I love you. Bye.